What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today I have to ask y'all the question, what would you do and how far would you go to protect those you love and care about? Whether it be a close friend, random stranger, or in the case of our MC, your child, would you be willing to go to the lengths to do something out of the ordinary, something that most people would never believe that you would be the one to do in order to protect your child? So today I'll be talking about a series called My Home Hero, and I'll just be talking about the first part of it because that's all I've read so far. And this is still an ongoing series. Currently, there is no official English release, which hurts. Because when I came across this series, I was like, why have I never heard of it? But, I do just want to give a super quick shout out to this account I follow on Twitter called Manga Morga or Manga Mogura, because they post a lot of just manga related stuff as far as like new releases, new volumes and stuff, whatever. And so one day they posted an image of like the latest volume they released in Japan, and I'm like, that looks interesting. And seeing people in the comments talking about it, I was like, I need to look into this and see what this is about. So this series follows our main character, Tetsuo Tosu, who is a average guy. He's just a businessman, a salaryman is what they call him in the series, who loves to write mystery novels in his free time. Now, he is married, has a wife, and they have one daughter who just who just started college. So she's like 19, 20, somewhere around there roughly. Now, the crux of the question I asked is something that Tetsuo finds himself in a position pretty early on, pretty much like in the first chapter or so so the basic setup of it, or how kind of things kind of start this snowball that goes on into this thriller series, is Tetsuo. He's traveling he's around town doing his business, his salaryman stuff, and he ends up in the area where his daughter stays. And he hits up his daughter. He's like, "Hey, I'm in the area. Can I come over and see you?" But she's kind of being standoffish. But of course, he's like, "Okay, she's a college kid, just got out the house. She's kind of wanted to, have her own space, do her own thing." So she kept on brushing him off, but he kept on like, come on, spend time with your old man." And so she agrees to meet up with him at this local restaurant that they often visit. But when she shows up, she's wearing shades, she's wearing a mask. And so first, he's like, "Oh, are you sick or what's going on? Why is your face covered?" And so he eventually ends up talking her. He's like, "Hey, let me see my baby's face. Let me see my daughter's face." And so she takes off everything, whatever. He noticed scars and bruises on her face. And of course, like anybody would question, especially a parent, what the heck happened? And so of course she's trying to brush it off, whatever. And long story short, the subject of that she has a boyfriend gets brought up. And so, they have a little conversation about it, whatever. And then she ends up being like, "Okay, hey, I gotta go." And she leaves. Well, the dad sits there for a little bit longer, just kind of just pondering everything. And then, he gets up to leave as well. But as he's walking down the sidewalk, it's like this like group of thugs, I'll just call them. You later find out that they're part of like a Yakuza syndicate, but like a group of thugs walk by, and you hear one of the guys say a name like his daughter's name, And he's like, maybe that's coincidence, but what are the odds that somebody else in this area that is close to her, where she lives and stuff, whatever, would also be having that same name? So he kind of trails the guys for a little bit, and he kind of, hears them like joking about being rough and beating on women and stuff. And he kind of trails them to this big building. I think it's a casino or something. And anywho, somebody sees that he's kind of been tracking them or whatever, and they snatch him up, beat him up, and be like, yo, we see you following our boys. We don't play that mess. And they pretty much like beat him up. I think they practically strip him naked and take a picture of him as like a blackmail, like, hey, go about your business or this will be posted online. And so anywho, feeling defeated, he goes about his business, but he can't get the thought out of his head of like, okay, this guy talking about potentially my daughter. So he drops by the apartment and knocks. She's not answering. She's not home. Well, he has a spare key, as some parents might. And, so he goes in or whatever. He's checking around and stuff, whatever. And then basically the boyfriend ends up coming over and the dad hides in the closet. Now the boyfriend comes over and he is just no shame, just on the phone talking to somebody, just practically bragging about the fact that he has beaten so many women over the years, murdered them, and all this other stuff. And of course, Tetsuo is horrified hearing this stuff. And then he also overhears part of the conversation of the reason why this guy got with the daughter is that Tetsuo's wife, Kaisen, her family her father, that side of the family, they own this very wealthy company. And so basically the Yakuza are trying to get in good with the daughter so that, they can basically manipulate her to get their way to the grandfather and his business and stuff. So hearing all this stuff, whatever, this is basically where Tetsuo comes to the question of, I gotta protect my daughter, because he's like, I do not want my daughter to be another one of his victims. And he kind of goes back and forth as far as like, can I really do something like this? And he pretty much, now he knows, because he's like, okay, for one, this guy is like half my age. Because I believe Tetsuo might be, I think maybe like late 30s or early 40s. I think early 40s, because his daughter is 20, so I think like early 40s, early to mid 40s. And he's like, okay, got this Yakuza dude who probably knows how to fight. He is not afraid of killing people, as I've heard him talk about. So he's like, I have one shot to take him out. And basically he creates a distraction, and then he pops out the closet and just knocks him over the head with, I don't think it was a toaster. It was some type of house appliance or whatever. Knocked him out. And then his wife walks in shortly after, as he's kind of like on the floor, just like looking at the body or whatever, just like shocked that he actually did this because the guy's not moving. His wife walks in because she also has a key to the apartment. And she is also, of course, she walks in. She's like, what the hell happened? What is going on? And basically the husband, Tetsuo, tells Kaisen, the wife, like, hey, this is the situation. This is what's going on with the guy. And almost immediately, she took a moment to kind of gather herself. But then the wife was like, all right, what do we need to do? And thus begins this crazy journey of them getting rid of the body, like full, like, of course they don't show everything like in super graphic detail, but they talk about stuff, whatever. So like they dismember the body and stuff, because of course, like between watching different crime stuff as well as all the research that Tetsuo has done for his mystery novels, he's done research on these type of subjects and things just for some of the characters that he writes. And so he's like, well, okay, I know we gotta move the body, and if we gotta get rid of it, well, we can't really walk out the door with this, so that means we gotta do some choppy. So yeah, so he ends up or they end up going out getting supplies and stuff, while the other one kind of guards and gets the tub ready, and they do their thing. Body goes bye bye. And yeah, so the other crazy thing I've got to mention about this is that the boyfriend, the Yakuza boyfriend, he had got dropped off by, or he was riding with one of his other guys. And so of course he's been gone for a minute. He's not answering his phone. He's not coming to the door when they went to the apartment or whatever. And so this series, I'm not gonna go to like all the step-by-step stuff or whatever, but basically this series there is like so much tension throughout this series and so many freaking close calls between, them trying to hide stuff, and then of course now the boyfriend that got taken care of, he is the son of one of the head people in this syndicate. So of course, and he's the last living family member of this guy as well. So there's a lot of craziness that just goes on, and so many moments of just like, man, how the heck are they going to get out of XY situation that they're in? Because there was like when they, what parts of the body they couldn't like flush down the toilet, when they got it to that, they packed up in a suitcase, took it home. They put it in like a flower pot with like fertilizer and stuff, whatever, to like hide it through that, because it would eventually like would decompose and stuff. But then like eventually, so one of the main guys that they end up having to contend with constantly is one of the Yakuza members named Kiyoshi Majima. Now, he is somebody that practically from the jump, he is suspicious of Tetsuo. Like the first time they end up encountering each other and stuff, because there was even a point to where Kiyoshi them sneak into their house and plant bugs to try to like listen in on conversations. But of course, Tetsuo and his wife, or Tetsuo kind of figures that out, and so he ends up disconnecting them and stuff like that. So it's this constant back and forth kind of cat and mouse game. But it even gets to the point to where Tetsuo eventually, because so basically, once things get to a point to where they directly confront Tetsuo, eventually Tetsuo ends up working things to where he's like, hey, I didn't know, we have nothing to do with this. I'm just a regular salary man or whatever. But why don't I help you figure out what's going on? And so that's kind of his way of sticking close and gathering information, but also being able to sabotage stuff along the way. And that is just like, series like this, that is like a part of it that I truly love and enjoy. Just like the intensity of, not everybody is safe. Characters getting taken out. Some characters like barely escaping by the skin of their teeth. All that type of stuff. Because heck, there's even a point where Tetsuo and the boyfriend's dad end up having an encounter. At the time, they don't know who each other is, but they end up having an encounter at a bar one night. And, just sitting there talking, and they both, end up talking about they're both being dads and stuff. And yeah, so, but I'll just say overall, cause like I don't want to like spoil every single bit and piece of this thing, whatever, because I definitely feel like this should be read. Like I just wish that it was more officially available, because unfortunately I just had to read it on the internet. But yeah, like one of my favorite panels is this one where it's just like he's just in the rain crying, just like, will there ever be a day when all my sins are forgiven? And I like how, and I'm very excited to continue to read this just because of the fact of like, they, and this part will be a spoiler, but like I said, I have to talk and discuss this stuff, whatever. But basically, they end up, Tetsuo and his wife basically end up deciding, because basically they are given 1 week time to basically either find out who did it, or or the blame will be placed on Tetsuo, and him and probably his whole family would be killed. So they end up working things in a way through Tetsuo working with Kiyoshi all this time and getting close and stuff, whatever, to where the last little bit of remains and evidence they have, they end up, and I love this part, they ended up planting it in Kiyoshi's apartment because Tetsuo, he tried to break into his apartment, but come on now, this dude is a professional Yakuza member. He's not gonna fall for these cheap tricks, but just the constant back and forth of Kiyoshi trying to hide wiretaps in their house, to Tetsuo trying to break into Kiyoshi's apartment, but like you're dealing with the Yakuza members, so of course, and even like the moment where Kiyoshi had the idea of going back to the daughter's apartment with a special type of black light that will show blood, but Tetsuo intercepting that package and swapping out the internals of the flashlight with the regular flashlight, and it's just so freaking good. And then just in the end, and shout out to the wife, Kasten, for coming in clutch with this. But of course, the scene isn't 100% clean, but basically Tetsuo ends up learning that Kiyoshi has this safe in his apartment that he is, storing money or whatever that he's been saving up. Well, basically, he ends up getting a brief moment to where he's able to leave Kiyoshi's balcony unlocked, and then him and his wife set up this plan to where basically his wife, while Tetsuo has Kiyoshi somewhere else, sneaks into the apartment in the middle of the night or super early in the morning, whichever, before daybreak. Gets in the apartment, and she actually guesses the code for the safe, because that same flashlight that Tetsuo switched out earlier, he used on the safe, because one of the other things aside from identifying blood is fingerprints. And so she could see the 4 buttons he was pressing. But from there, I think it was going to be like a total of like 24 or so guesses, possible combination guesses. And after every 3 attempts, it's like a 10, 15 minute or so wait in between. So they had to do all these math calculations of like, okay, in order for us to get in and out before, the neighbors start waking up and all this stuff, whatever, she has to guess the code within this time frame. And she does. She plants the evidence, get out of there. And then when they go back to his apartment with the other Yakuza people who are like, hey, they're saying that Kiyoshi might have done it or whatever, let's check the safe. And then he opens the safe and sees the bag in there, and he's like, what the heck, who planted this, how did this get in here? But overall, I just love that whole cat and mouse game, even to the point to where it looked like Kiyoshi was about to die at the end, but he ends up being like, no, I'm not going to let Tetsuo and his family just live all happy-go-lucky while I am 6 feet underground. And so he makes an escape, and he gets up out of there. And one thing he notices as he's running around, he notices like little scuff marks, like somebody might have snuck in through the balcony and stuff, as well as that his patio door was unlocked. And he starts putting clues together and stuff. And so he ends up leaving town for a bit because he's like, man, it's too hot here. I got to get out of town. But this part pretty much just ends with him getting out of town for the time being, and Tetsuo and his wife and daughter having a nice family picnic at the park, just chilling, fun in the sun. But it's just like, man, this is not over. This is far from over. But I am just super excited to see what's coming next, where this goes from here. And like I said, I just had to freaking just gush and talk about it. Like I said, I had the original intention of not really trying to spoil things, but I'm like, I already did like a non-spoiler talk about this on one of my podcast episodes a few weeks ago, so go listen to that. But yeah, because I feel like somebody else out there might appreciate this mini just rambling of thoughts of this series so far. But it's still ongoing. I think they're close to 100 chapters, I think, or whatever. But regardless, I'm ready to dive back into this crazy world and see what other crazy stuff Tetsuo and his family end up getting roped into. But like I said, if somehow you still listen to all of this, whatever, I still will highly recommend going and reading it for yourself. Just because it is a gripping tale that will pull you through all those chapters. But anywho, thank you for listening to my ramble. If you have read the series, of course, please don't spoil me on anything past this first part, but just let me know, like, hey, what are your general thoughts of the series overall if you have read it, or if anything I said sounds interesting to you and you might go and hunt it down and check it out. But yeah, for me, that'll be it. As always, you can find me everywhere at Dad Needs to Talk. You can find this, on YouTube, as well as on all podcast streaming services for the audio. And yeah, hit me up on social media, Dad Needs to Talk everywhere. And I'll catch y'all in the next episode, video, etc. And as always, make sure y'all take care of yourselves, treat yourself to something nice, read some manga, watch some anime and TV, play some video games, and live your life. And I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.